Well, let's talk to the Secretary of State for Defence, Ben Wallace, who joins us now. Minister, good morning to you. The only hope we have in the face of Vladimir Putin is our longevity in this, isn't it? Our determination to stay the course. Are we, as a British people and as a British government, prepared to do that?
Yes, I think we are. And if you think about it, last year, people were debating how long Ukraine had on this very day, the 24th of February. And people were talking about, was it about resistance operations? How could we deal with the huge numbers of refugees? And now, 1 year on, we've seen a Ukraine fighting massive odds against them, has inflicted, we think, over 188,000 dead or injured Russian soldiers. They've destroyed thousands of their tanks. And the international community has come together in a way I don't think anyone really expected, but in a way not just coming together, they've stuck the course. And, only a couple of weeks ago, we saw the international community declare that they were going to donate Western tanks, nearly 200 of some of the best tanks in the world, and now being prepared to be delivered to Ukraine. And Britain is playing its part with some of our tanks, but also with the training that's required.
From a British perspective, I mean, you spoke there about the Challenger tanks, which we've heard about in the last few weeks. There is still this pressure from Volodymyr Zelensky. He still wants that support from the skies, and Boris Johnson has ramped up those calls as well for Britain to supply Typhoons. Is that what we're going to see happen next?
I don't think in the short term you're going to see a jet supply, but I think because your military contributor was saying a similar thing. As you go up the sort of gradient of the type of platforms you supply, you also go up the complexity. And a fighter jet doesn't just come on its own. It comes with effectively a massive pit crew of about 200 people. That's people to engineers and systems analysts and technicians. They all come along with it. And Britain is not putting troops into Ukraine, and so that causes a problem in the first place. Secondly, how you fight and use an aircraft. It's not just about can you fly it, it's about how you weave it into your air defence and electronic warfare and all sorts of other layers that you need to make it effective. And so I think what is correct is that for the long-term plans for Ukraine, building their resilience where they can have time to develop those capabilities, we will help now start training them in the use of those planes. But I don't think you're going to see in the medium or short term a whole load of British planes just delivered into Ukraine. What I do think we can do, and we've already been doing it, is dealing with the effects you want the planes to deliver. So a plane can deliver three things. It can deliver air defence, shooting down other planes. It can deliver air support to troops on the ground. And it can deliver targeting and hitting targets in the deep, e.g. sort of headquarters and things. Now, we can deliver all those effects and have been as an international community already. Thousands of anti-air missiles are now in Ukraine, and that's why basically the Russian Air Force finds it very hard to fly. In close support to troops, you see everything from drones being used to precision artillery. And then in the longer range, you've seen obviously HIMARS. They have an 80-kilometre range, long-range artillery missiles effectively being used to strike into the depth of the Russian position. So we think we can help with those effects. We're continuing to increase that. But I think it's just really about managing the realities of saying that we just simply can't hand over Western jets and expect them to be used in the short term. I think what you can say is that if there are other countries with Russian or Soviet jets, which they could just transfer over, Britain will explore what it can do to give those countries that reassurance that their own skies will be protected. We've already done that in places like Romania and Poland, where we've flown patrols to help with protecting their skies, and obviously we have some air defence assets in Poland. So I think that is, to me, the best and quickest way we can help Ukraine.
Yeah, I was going to say the whole backfill scenario is much easier, especially if it's then we're then assisting a NATO country in all of that, and let's say it might be an easier and perhaps even a cheaper option to get that in place. Amidst all of this, though, it's this very difficult situation, isn't it, of not knowing what Vladimir Putin is going to do next. I mean, normally we have an assessment of what the enemy is planning. He seems to be very hard to read at the moment, apart from seeing a determination to keep going.
Yeah, it is. It's one of the challenges we have is that, in our systems, and indeed in the old Soviet system, there's always a sort of check and balance. So, the Soviet system, you had a Politburo. In our system, you have a cabinet, you have a National Security Council, you have Parliament. So you always have different people whose job it is to tell leaders not necessarily things they want to hear, but things they must hear. And I think, President Putin seems to be pretty much running the country on his own with a few very close buddies who all think the same. And that makes it definitely a challenge. He's also a man who doesn't seem to care about the outcome of his troops. When you have sacrificed 188,000, or actually even more now, we think, of your own troops on this illegal invasion, it's quite hard to work out how far he has to go before he actually realises he doesn't have much of an army left, and indeed his own population are starting to really suffer. But I think that's why we have, we should be grateful we're a member of NATO, an alliance of 30 countries, and we should recognise that, that might, that military power that is about mutual self-defence. If someone attacks one of us, we all come to each other's aid. That is our reassurance. That's how we go to sleep at night, that military alliance, it's been the most successful military alliance in history, is effectively ready and prepared to defend our borders.
I've just got to ask you, Minister, we were talking to your counterpart a couple of hours ago. There are concerns about munitions stores in this country. Obviously, they've been heavily depleted by what's happened. They're being built up, we understand. This is all going to cost money. Now, Labour, John Healey saying, not explicitly, but implying that they would certainly look at extending defence spending. Something's got to be done in terms of defence spending come the next budget, hasn't it?
Well, we're all looking forward to Labour's actual answers to the question of what are you going to do and where's the money coming from. John Healey made an announcement about troop numbers the other day, but no money attached. So we're all looking to see about some of their announcements. But look, the Chancellor and the Prime Minister recognised that and gave me an extra 560 million to refurbish our ammunition stocks back in autumn, and we've been continually to do that. One of the challenges that's been exposed by the war in Ukraine has been that basically those ammo stocks that we all held across Europe have slightly gone to sleep. We haven't necessarily had supply chains whirring away in the background, A, because that's cost money, and B, because there wasn't a war. And so we've had to sort of reinvigorate those supply chains, and that can take time. But I'm confident we're on the mend. We've already received some new ammunition for our stockpiles, and we'll continue to do so.
Defence Secretary Ben Wallace, really good to have you on the programme this morning. Thank you so much for your